talking about building, your one pager, or you're having to sort of build the content as you go. That's actually an area that I think also, as you're thinking, like, how do you operationalize and start to build out the core things that the go-to-market needs? That can feel very overwhelming because they're like, oh my goodness, I have to build, what do I do for my marketing stack? And what do I use for SEO words? And what do I use for content? And oh my goodness, I have to build 3,000 pieces of collateral. And I went out on the internet and I found out all these things. And it's just like my head's about to explode. I'm sure you have questions on like what first and in what order, and like how do I take these what appears to be 2,000 things I need to do and sort of boil it down to the essence of the foundation.
I will disclaim this by saying, we are by no means professional content people, but when it comes to getting started with a foundation, where we typically guide younger companies is, first and foremost, simplify, right? You don't need 10,000 things like you just said. And where we encourage people to start is, we've labeled it a content bank, which, as the name suggests, is, let's call it a Google Doc. Put all of the fundamental core language about your business, the about section of your company, your key products, what their value propositions are, your key customers, your mission, vision, values, like just the very fundamentals of your organization. Spend time getting every single word on that page or several pages correct, that everybody in the organization buys into, feels comfortable with. And once that's done, that becomes kind of the jumping off point for every single piece of content you have. Then you can build a sales deck. You go right back to that, holy grail of content to build your one pagers. And then anytime a change needs to be made, you make it in that one central spot, so that you keep everything on track from there on out.
Yeah, when you build your content bank out, like Hailey said, and I love the fact that she mentioned a Google Doc, because it doesn't have to be sophisticated. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are tools that you can pay for, but also you can just use free things. But that content bank, and then plus like a maybe a professional style guide or brand guide that you paid for. You want to talk about, once again, like really elevating the ability to use a third-party designer, right? So if you need somebody to come in and add some sales messaging, they have this content bank that they can get a really crisp idea of what you're trying to communicate. Give the style guide and the content bank to a designer or a design firm, and you can spend a lot less money. It's just like, Christy, when you're talking about product, right? Like if you get really good product guidelines going, whether it be wireframe, and really understanding full stack. If you engage with a development shop prior to that, you're going to spend a lot of money spinning your wheels trying to figure those things out. If you get really good at product management and product early design, that makes everything more efficient down the road. And I think that's where Hailey's talking about having a content bank and having that brand or style guide together. Those are really two components that can, whether or not you're ready to hire that first marketing person, that third party is going to be more powerful, and then you continue to grow until you're ready for that FTE.
And I think the fail fast, ship early philosophy applies here too. Like, we've made this mistake as well, where you spend 10 gazillion hours trying to perfect your Canva sales one-sheeter, or, try to build out a really full-fledged 50-page sales deck. And at the end of the day, when you get it in front of a real live prospect, you're going to learn that this language doesn't really resonate, or that this value proposition, actually, we need to scrap it and start over. So starting lean and making sure you get that message right is so important before you start to blow up volume-wise and quantity of things.
Yeah, you're literally going to forget something, right? You're going to you can spend 3 weeks building a one-pager, and then in sentence 2, you've misspelled the name of your company, right? Like, get it in front of people fast so you can correct it fast.
Yeah, and I think that also sort of is a little bit liberating for people too, is to just look at it. This is a build and this is a process. And so, we're not after perfection. We're not, trying to wordsmith this thing to death. We're just trying to put down the essence of what it is that we know is valuable, that meets the pain of the people that we're trying to talk to, and then see how it resonates, and, and continue to iterate. But I mean, that's really like what you do the entire time, but just looking at your sort of go to market in that way, like, let's put all the foundational things in place and then learn. And, I always make fun that, like, because it feels so true, is that a week in startup land is like, a quarter everywhere else, because so much happens. You're like, oh, let's look back at what we did this week. What? Nobody else believes you. You're like, you did what this week? No,
Right.
this literally is what we did. And so I think that just giving yourself a little bit of grace and saying, like, we don't have to have all this built out. We don't have to have 300 pieces of content. And, let's just every single week or every single month, we're going to add a piece of content. And in 1 year, we're going to have 12 nice pieces. And, just look at it in incremental victories as opposed to like, and because the other thing that happens is just, paralysis by analysis, and that you think there's so much that has to be done, know where to start, just like anything else, put one foot in front of the other, and we'll have something.